I want you guys to sit back, relax, and I want you to meet my first guest, Miss Phyllis Dixon. Hello.
Hey there.
How are you tonight?
Oh, pretty good. Can't complain.
All right, all right. No, we can't complain anyway because nobody's gonna listen.
This is true.
So
This
I
is
want to congratulate you. Your latest book was just released back in June. Is that correct?
right. The last week of June.
Okay, so tell us about it. Do you have a copy
Okay.
of it with you?
I just happen to have a copy. A Taste for More.
I love the title.
A Taste for More. And it's the overarching question, I guess, is what would you do if your child had done something or you thought they had done something illegal?
Mm.
And then the short description is Mother's Daughter's Desserts Deceit. And basically, it's the story of Margot. Story takes place in the 60s and 70s. She leaves the South, like a lot of people did during the Great Migration, going to the Promised Land up north. But once she gets there, it's not the panacea she thought it would be. She was leaving Mississippi because she didn't want to be a cook like her mom and grandmother working in white women's kitchens, but that's what she ends up doing. But then she evolves, and eventually it works to her benefit. But her daughter does not necessarily, and she works to make sure that her daughter has every advantage. But as her daughter grows up, she does not necessarily appreciate all that her mother has done for her. And so that's where the drama comes in.
Wow. Well, that seems to be a narrative. I mean, young folks, sometimes we just don't appreciate our mothers the way we should.
That's true. But one thing, every generation says that. Because I was reading something and it was a male had written it, or I think he was being interviewed, and he was saying that the young people these days they don't want to work hard, they don't understand all that they had to go through. It's a whole lot of things that he said, which sounds like somebody could say that today, and it was written
Mhm.
in like the 19 teens or something like that. It was like
Right.
what was that, the work WPA and all of those different uh, organizations that
Well,
they had with the slave
yeah.
narratives. Yeah. So I
Well,
think
no,
every
I
generation
agree.
feels that way.
That's what I was going to say, and that's why I say we don't, because
Yeah.
I'm sure the same things that I could be saying about Generation X or Generation Y and Z and the millennials is the same thing that the baby boomers were saying about Generation X,
Yeah.
and the generation before them said the same thing about the baby boomers. We when we describe our childhood, we make ourselves out to sound like we were perfect angels who never made a mistake and always listened.
Of
But
course.
we talk to our parents and they'll tell an entirely different story.
Of course.
Well, you just have to give us those little nuggets to make us want to just go out and get the book and then continue reading.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, and like I say, she was the Margot. She was the first one in her family to graduate from high school. And that was, in the late 50s. So she figured she was all that and a bag of chips. But once she got to the North, which in this instance was Milwaukee, um, it wasn't all that she thought it was going to be. She did end up being a cook like her mom. But eventually, those recipes and things that she was so ashamed of, that really helped her to start and build a business. And then the recipes are well, no, but there's 10 or 12, I forget, recipes in the back of the book. So she worked at the Fourth Street Cafe, and so the
Okay.
recipes in the back are called Fourth Street Favorites. So just
I
kind of a little
like
something extra.
Yeah, I like that touch of adding recipes to the book. Well, where did the recipes come from? Are these your family recipes or recipes that people were able to submit?
They actually just go along with the story. For like 7 Up pound cake is one of the recipes, and her pound cakes play a predominant role in this story. So that recipe is in here. Her fried pies is one of the things she was known for. She was a cook like her mom, but also like her mother. She baked on the side. And so her
Right.
cakes and pies and things like that are in here. Molasses cookies are in here. They kind of had a little role in the story. But also, she went to Milwaukee, which is where I'm originally from. And
Okay.
Wisconsin has a large German immigrant population. So there's
Mhm.
some German based recipes in here as well, like German red cabbage and German stew. So the recipes actually just went along with the story. So then what I had to do, some people, when they do research for books, they get to travel or do, fun stuff. And what I ended up doing was cooking because the cooking is not my forte. But I did want to, make sure I could say I had cooked the recipes. So the recipes that are in here, I have tried them all. And actually, the pound cake turned out pretty good. I have not made a scratch cake since high school in home ec, but the pound cake turned out pretty good. And I've made some more since then. So I had to kind of pat
Okay.
myself on the back.
So, the recipes that you tried out, were these your first time actually trying these particular recipes, or and then not so much the recipe, but was it your first time trying these dishes? Because there are lots of different
Mhm.
recipes for a lot of different dishes. But was this your first time actually trying these particular dishes?
Sort of. Now, like the fried pies, my mother made fried pies all the time. So, sometimes I used to help her with those. So I was kind
Mhm.
of familiar with that. Like I say, the pound cake, that recipe came from a friend of mine, and that was my first time making a scratch cake in a gazillion years. Like I say, the red cabbage, the German cabbage, and that was my first time trying those recipes. Everything in there I did except the biscuits. Now, her biscuits are really what got her the job, and I wasted a lot of ingredients trying to make these biscuits. So, in all transparency, the biscuits are someone else's recipe, but I could never get mine to turn out right.
How many books does this make for you?
This is my fourth novel. So, I had two that were self published, and then last year, Intermission came out, and now this one, A Taste for More, just came out.
And you said two are self-published, so the other two are traditionally published.
Correct. Yes.
Okay, which publishing company are you with?
Kensington.
Wonderful.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was with Kensington once upon a time. Um, what was it? A Dead Rose, I believe, was under Kensington. So they're a great company, and so congratulations on that.
Well, thank you. Yeah, they've been very good to work for. I had kind of heard horror stories just about, in general, publishing. We all know it's not what it used to be, but like you said, they've been very, very helpful. Maybe because I didn't have high expectations, like I knew they weren't going to send me on a tour and all that kind of stuff, but they've
I
been
think
helpful.
that's the issue. I think that when people become traditionally published, or people are always trying to strive for that brass ring of being traditionally published, because they think that that means that they can just sit down and relax and let the money roll in, and that the publishing company is going to do all the work. And unfortunately, that's just not how it is anymore.
No,
Now, you have the book right now. Do you have any appearances coming out or coming up, or oh, you're nodding. Okay.
I do. Let's see. Well, September 12th is actually in Memphis. I live in Memphis. They have a literary fair connected with the Southern Heritage Classic football game. So I'm going to be doing that on September 12th. Anybody in
Okay.
Memphis? At the end of September, I'll be at Six Bridges Book Festival, which used to be called the Little Rock Book Festival, but it's the book festival for Arkansas, and
Nice.
that's Friday and Saturday. I think it's the 27th and 28th of September. So those are the two main two that I have coming up. In October, I have some book club virtual type things, but as far as me going somewhere, that's what I have right now.
Oh, so you are going to be a busy bee.
Well, you got to get out there. And then also, when you asked about the difference between the self-publishing and the traditional publishing, that is also the other difference too. I've never had to write to a deadline, so it's like, I had to get the next book to them at the same time that I'm marketing for A Taste for More, and it's just kind of um, you're always doing something. It's whereas if you self-publish, you kind of go at your own pace,
Yeah.
and it's like, well, I thought the book was going to come out in May, but maybe I'll push it back to September. You don't really get to do that now. I mean, you
Yeah.
can, but you kind of have a, ruin your
Well,
reputation a little bit. So
that's something else that I tell authors when they're deciding between being self-published or traditionally published. I've been putting off writing a book for 2 years. I can do that because I'm self-published, but I've been to the other side when I was traditionally published, and they told me that I have to have the book turned in by such and such date. And when you
right,
have a hard deadline like that, it doesn't matter if you feel like writing that day or if you feel that you don't have time. You have got to get that book done. And I tell people all the time, when Carl Weber told me he wanted my book on December 31st, guess what I was doing on New Year's Eve? I was working on getting that book finished.
right,
Saying Happy New Year was going to have to happen later on. I needed to get that book done because that's when he said I needed to turn it in.
right.
So,
Because there's a whole ecosystem that works with
yes.
that. And there's a group that works on the cover and the marketing. And because, like I say, even though they don't send you on a tour, they do some things, and they send it out for reviews and all that stuff. And then you got to also look at, you're not their only client. So they got other people in the queue as well. So if you mess up, then that kind of, or I shouldn't say mess up, but if you're late, that kind of throws everybody behind you off schedule as well.
Makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. So, congratulations once again. I'm looking forward to reading the book. I know you gave a few little snippets. You didn't want to give too much. Just give a little, take a little back. But that's all right though. You gave us just enough to make us really want to get into this book. So, thanks so much for that.
Appreciate the invite. Thank you.
All right, you have a great evening.
All right, you too.
All right, y'all. That was author Phyllis Dixon, and I'm looking forward to reading her book. And I hope